Hello. Welcome on back to my channel. As y'all may have guessed by the title of this video, today we are focusing in on the contouring, how to contour like a pro. And that doesn't mean what we see a lot of on social media with the stripes and the dots and the lines and all those really intimidating things. No, we're not playing those games today. Today is going to be truly the most efficient and approachable way to contour, whether you already are a pro or if you're a beginner at makeup wanting to learn how to do it on yourself without worrying about leaving the house looking crazy. You know what I mean? Not only am I going to show you how to contour, but I'm going to show you the best products and tools to do it with, which leads me to giving a huge thank you to SHEGLAM for partnering up with me for this video. I'm about to turn you guys on to this new sponge I've been using for a little while now, so stay tuned for that. Without further ado, if you want to learn how I created this look right here, then keep on watching. So to begin, I'm using the B-Hydra Intensive Hydration Serum from Drunk Elephant to hydrate the skin and to prep it for the steps that are to follow. I begin by applying this to the main areas of Shanice's face before massaging it in with my hands. I will say this is my first time using this particular product, so I'll be sure to give you an update on it down the road. As of now, I chose to use it because I'm really into trying out different skincare and I liked the ingredients it's formulated with. The provitamin B5, the pineapple ceramide, and truth be told, anything that claims to be hydrating and to brighten the complexion, I'm all about. And today's makeup application you'll see laid really beautiful on top of this. Once I have this worked into the skin, I'm going to move on to foundation, which for today is the Synchro Skin Radiant Lifting Foundation from Shiseido, and I'm applying this on with the brand new multi-faceted makeup sponge from SHEGLAM, which comes in a case like this and comes in other colors too, like this light peach shade or this baby pink and even this mint green. But today I'm using the large flat side of the black sponge to apply on the foundation. But before I get into talking about the sponge, I'll mention that I'm using the shade 430 in this foundation. Shiseido was nice enough to send me all of the shades of this new foundation of theirs, but after doing some swatching, I found the shade was perfect for our model Shanice because it matched her neck, chest, and shoulders perfectly. And because her face is a little lighter than the rest of her body, we'll brighten up specific areas with highlight later on in this tutorial. Now, let's talk about the sponge, because it really is playing the main character in today's video. If you've been watching my YouTube videos since day one, you know I can't live without a makeup sponge. I've been using this particular one from SHEGLAM for the last few weeks, and I have to give a huge shout out to them because they've been so patient with me. Before I could just commit to this video sharing my thoughts about it, I truly wanted to spend time using it, putting it to work, testing it out thoroughly, both off camera and on. I've been using it in my last few videos, not thinking anyone would notice, but boy was I wrong. I literally can't get away with anything without some of y'all noticing. I read a good handful of comments asking what sponge was it that I was using, who makes that, and I didn't say anything about it because I didn't want to quite yet endorse it without truly testing it out first. And now, the cat's out of the bag. This is the new sponge I've been using. And as I go through the next steps, I'll explain to you how I use it and why I love it for certain reasons and all that good stuff. But for the foundation, as you see, I'm using the large flat side of the sponge to really press in the foundation to get that seamless coverage. Once we have this applied, I'm going to begin the contouring using the Too Faced Born This Way concealer in the shade Cocoa, and I'm using this smaller flat side of the sponge to apply this on. Just as I did with the foundation, I applied the product first to the back of my hand, dip the sponge into it, and then begin applying it to the areas where I want to create dimension with the illusion of shadows, because ultimately, that's what contouring is. And it's important to say here that every face is different, and where I place the contour on our model Shanice may not work for you and vice versa. So play around with it, practice, have fun with it. It's just makeup, guys. It washes off if it doesn't work out, but this is really the way I like to apply the contour. Just placing it in the areas I want to create that shadow. So in this case, the perimeter of the forehead, in the hollows of the cheekbones, the jawline, and down the sides of the nose. For the sides of the nose, I really like using this more precise side of the sponge here to apply it. It's the perfect width for an area like this. That's another reason why I love this sponge, is because there's so many different like sides to it, so many different facets to it. Even when you purchase it, in the packaging, it gives you a guide on how you can use different sides for different different purposes. You could literally do a full face of makeup using just this one tool, but really the blending is what does it for me. And keep in mind, when I'm applying the contour, I'm not too worried about being too perfect with the placement. My goal here is just to get the product onto the general areas of the face, and then once applied, you'll see me here blend it all out in just a second. One of my biggest tips for contouring is to take your precious time blending. That's where the magic happens. When in doubt, blend it out. And you can see here, I'm blending it out using the large flat side of the sponge, the side that we haven't used yet. If you remember, we used the other large flat side to apply on the foundation. And you'll see me from time to time switch back over to that side if I want to tone down a part of that contour because it still has some of that foundation left on that side of the sponge. Or you'll even see me switch to the side of the sponge that we used to apply the contour on with if I need to apply a little bit more somewhere. I know you've heard me say it in the past, but I never switch between sponges for different steps. I've always used the same sponge for the foundation, the contour, the highlight, and so on and so forth because it allows me to melt together all the products and shades we've used up until this point. And that's why I've always used a sponge to blend out cream and liquid contours. It always gives me the most flawless finish. And because I know some of you are gonna ask, I'll mention that the sponge is hyperallergenic. It isn't made with any toxic dyes. It's latex free, and the most important part, to me at least, is that it's super affordable. What I'm about to tell you just might make you fall to the floor. This sponge, including the case and all, is $3.50. $3.50. You sit back and you take that in for a second because I don't know about you, but I've been spending, I don't know, like $20 on a sponge my whole makeup career. Like, what's wrong with this picture? And on top of that, the brand gave us a code for 15% off site-wide to use. I think the code is Spencer. I'll link it down below along with the link to their site and all, but dang, $3.50. Huh. All right, I need to move on. So what I'm doing here is I'm applying the highlight. I'm actually using the same Too Faced Born This Way concealer, but this time it's in the shade Golden Beige. And I'm applying this onto the under eye area, the upper eyelids, and even down the brow bone just to accent it. This goes back to what I was saying earlier. I'm using this concealer to brighten the center of her face, which is further emphasizing the dimension we're creating. And even though this tutorial isn't necessarily about the highlighting and the blush and the baking and all, it's important for me to include some of this footage in here so you can see how they all work together to create the beautiful result we're gonna get. And I know I've been rambling on a lot in today's videos, so I'm gonna give it a break while you watch in these next few seconds the blending footage. All right, so now that we have the contour and the highlight blended out, I'm gonna use this Soft Pinch Liquid Blush in the shade Grateful from Rare Beauty. Apply this to the back of my hand as you see here, press the sponge into it, and then apply it to the apples of her cheeks. This shade of blush is one of those that's definitely underrated, but I get it. It's kind of intimidating because it's such a vibrant, fiery coral red, but when applied right, it looks so incredibly beautiful. And you'll even see here after I've buffed it out, I'll head back to the side of the sponge we had used for the foundation to diffuse out the edges. So basically, all in all, I almost used the foundation side as an eraser or as a diffuser in a way throughout the makeup application before I set it with powder. For powder, I'm mixing together this translucent setting powder by One Size Beauty along with the Beauty Bakery Pinch of Flower powder in the shade Plantain, and I'm applying it on with the large flat side of the sponge. Now before I used the sponge for this, I did wrap it with a clean paper towel to squeeze out the excess foundation that was in there before dipping it into the powder and placing it into the under eye area for the baking process. Our model did tell me she had an oily skin type, so that's why I'm really going in with the powder today. We're gonna wipe it all off here in a minute anyways, but I just wanted to show you the different ways you can use the sponge. I mixed in a tad bit of the Beauty Bakery powder to get a slight tint of yellow, which will complement her under eye area really well. And as for the rest of the face, I'm using the same powder, but of course in a much lighter dose, just to slightly set the products we used and to take down the shine in that T-zone area. A common question I get is how I clean my sponges, and long story short, for my own personal sponge that I use on myself, I find the easiest way to clean it is with an antibacterial bar of soap. I find that it really breaks down the makeup that's in it, and once I set it aside to dry, I spritz it with, I think, like 70% alcohol to really make sure it's disinfected. Now, the sponges I use on my clients is a whole other story. I use a brand new sponge each time I work on someone, which is why I really love the price point of this sponge. I still can't get over it. $3.50. Oh my goodness. Okay, here I'm lightly baking the jawline with the same powder to sharpen that contour we created earlier. And I'll only leave this on for a few minutes before wiping it off. Also, to mention, the contouring we did today is more wearable than what you may have seen me do in the past. I wanted to keep it more achievable for the everyday boy or girl who wants to learn how to do it, but still wants that pro results. If you want me to create another tutorial on heavier, more transformative contouring, let me know. Or even a tutorial showing you how to contour on different skin tones. I'm totally down to do that too. Okay, to add some glow to the skin, I'm using the iconic London Illuminating Drops in their original shade to add some sheen to the skin. I have applied this onto the back of my hand just like I've done with all the prior products we've used up until this point. Press the sponge into it and then lightly tap it onto the high points of her face, including the cheekbones, down the center of the nose, the cupid's bow, and just a tad bit on the forehead. And because today's video is all about the complexion and the contouring, I did the brows, eyes, and lips off camera. So all in all, this concludes the tutorial on how to contour like a pro on our naturally beautiful model, Shanice. There we have it, kids. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, be sure to give this video a big old thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. You can also check out more of my work on my Instagram at Painted by Spencer. And until next time, I'll see you soon.